Check, check, check. Are we live? Are we in the mic? Can everybody hear me? Put a 1 or a 5 or anything in the comments. Do I have audio? Can you guys hear me? It's a cold open. Okay, nice. Okay, good. Thank you. Um, so yeah, I obviously wanted to have some pre-production, stuff in the can and some theme music and blah blah blah. But if I wait to do all that stuff, I'm never going to do a show. So I figured that we just dive in and have somebody interesting on and ask them questions. That's what we're going to do today, and that's my intention. I think going forward, um, overproduction of anything kind of annoys me. So um, I would like to have a show that is a little bit grittier than that. But beyond that, what this show is going to be about, it's going to be about the history of where I'm from. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. My name is Derek Farmer. Uh, I've been in the pizza business for 35 years. I guess I still am, even though I do it independently now. And I don't know why that qualifies me to be on the air and talking about somebody's cold case, but it feels more like a creative process for me than it does an actual. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing any good or not, but I enjoy doing it, so we're just gonna go with it. Uh, with all that being said, I'm not really sure how to bring Sleuth in, but I see he looks like he's right there. Oh my God, he knows what to do. He's so good. I'm just gonna bring him in. Let's bring him in, guys. My first guest ever, my first guest ever, garnered my attention when I was flipping through YouTube, and I was already sort of interested in the Delphi case and hadn't updated myself on it in quite some time. Maybe I saw a blurb, a news blurb or something. It must have been the spring of 2022, I'm thinking. And I saw the headline or the title for his show about his interview with somebody named JP. And so when I tuned that in and listened to that interview, I was hooked on it for sure. And subsequently, as most of you guys know, I think probably there, and maybe I have about 3 friends here, but probably everybody else is probably from the web sleuth community. So with all that being said, Sleuth, we're just going to bring you in here, add to stream, I guess is what we're doing. I guess go ahead and say hi, Sleuth, when you get the message here to do so.
Yeah, what's up, Farmer? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I can hear you good too. That's good.
Yeah, your audio sounds great. Thanks for inviting me on to your first stream. Uh, Honored.
Yeah, hang on a second though, Sleuth. Let me turn this up a little bit for myself. There we go. Yeah, I don't really know. It's not that I didn't have other people I could ask. I mean, you're like the top of the list, and I like to bite the head off the snake first. I like to go for the best first. So you're
Thanks.
my personal guru when it comes to web sleuthing. I find that your consistency, your tenacity, and your ability to look at all angles all the time uh, is a benefit, I believe, to this community. What do you say?
Yeah, critical thinking is it's kind of held me back a lot because I'm very over analytical. You know, things just don't always seem right, and that's just because people aren't putting it in a way that makes sense to me, and that's not their fault.
Yeah, sure. And people sometimes I find myself not being concise. That's for sure. Um, But a lot of people probably would start out asking questions about where are you from and blah 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 and what music do you like and what are your I don't like that shit. So we're just gonna hop right to the good stuff.
Sure.
Um, because I just find that stuff I find that stuff to be pre-interview boring stuff that I should already know. So with that being said, I do have a couple personal, not personal, but just like off Delphi topic questions though, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I thought, what I did want to say was this show that I'm doing here isn't just going to be a web sleuth show. I guess I didn't make that clear before I sort of rushed into it all, but I really want it to be focused on my community, on the history. I metal detect. I got there's a lot of odd little things. I'm into the UFOs and stuff, so we'll see where it
Me
goes.
too. I'm into that kind of stuff too.
Oh yeah, I had that on the list. Don't worry, we're going to get there. Um, But I did have initially, I want to know because you're so prolific when it comes to these shows that you do. I mean, sometimes what it seems like 12 or 15 of them a day. I'm sorry. Um, but no, really, you do one a day. It seems like it's like
Try
that.
to.
What's that?
I try to.
Yeah, and I guess my question is before you were web sleuthing and before you were doing stuff on camera. I mean, I know that you did stuff with music, but do you find that your creative time was roughly the same amount spent on something else, or has this amped you up in terms of? And I don't know if you consider it creative time. I guess that's what I create. That's what I consider it for myself. Maybe you
Yeah.
consider it necessary or something, but
That's a good way to put it. Creative time.
did you find yourself spending the same amount of time roughly on like other projects that weren't obviously going to be, you know, web sleuth related?
Yeah. As a previous musician, I would try to find inspiration to make some music, but sometimes it's not. You can't just create inspiration; it has to be there. And trying to figure out a way to be creative. Yeah, I mean, basically everything I've ever done in my life, little bits and pieces of that kind of lead to what I'm doing right now, which is really strange. So I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense. I think if you're, I mean, I would look at even you did production-y type stuff too. Now you didn't just create music; you did the production end of things, correct?
Yeah, production, I created music, designing, so all of that kind of stuff kind of
That's a
goes
direct,
into YouTube stuff. So,
definitely direct crossover in terms of tech savvy.
yeah.
Um, all right, well, what's going through your head when you're talking to somebody like JP? I still won't use names. I guess I don't know how comfortable I am, even though he's been talked about a lot or whatever. I don't know the dude, so he hasn't been charged with anything as far as I know. But when you're having a moment when you realize in the moment that you're talking to somebody that might just be a little bit batshit, and those are my words, not yours. Um, does a different thought process kick in? Does something else kick in to sort of, I don't know, uh, set you off in a different mode?
Yeah, there's a gear. You kind of get into this gear and you kind of let your instincts take over, kind of
And
fill
how
it
do you
out.
find that? I mean, you find yourself comfortable and that? I mean, it seems
No,
totally comfortable. I mean, for me to
no,
listen to.
it's not comfortable, but at the moment I've convinced myself it's necessary. So then it's just full steam ahead and um it's just kind of like you got to be ready for any movement, any interaction, any adjustment that these people might make, and just stay right there within the moment. Don't think about anything. Just be true to your instincts, I guess.
I liked how I mean, some people didn't like it, but when you did a show about the possible serial killer that called the Howard Stern show, and sort of to me it related directly to, and then I'll move on from this topic. But to me it related directly to JP in that interview, which is what, like I said, initially drew me into your show, man. And just to sort of follow up on something recently that happened. I think it was what, last week, maybe a few days ago. I don't know the guy's initials or whatever. He seemed a bit in distress when he called the show. If you're comfortable talking about that, have you heard any follow up on that situation?
Oh, Howard?
Howard, yeah.
No, I haven't followed up with Howard.
All right. I thought maybe you guys got coffee or something.
No, I've been dealing with my medical stuff, but I'm gonna follow up with Howard probably in a day or two.
I just wondered. It seemed like a pretty, again, a pretty intense moment as a listener. Um, I'm not sure what that's like in to be on the other side of the microphone like you were. So, um, well, I mean, what do you want? You got anything on the agenda? You want to just jump into Delphi? What do you guys got in the chat? I don't know. I'm not really reading the chat, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm really nervous and I'm just trying to kind of plow through. Um, but maybe I should slow down a little bit. Do I magnet fish? That's a that's a good question. No. I know I'm scared of things that are in the water like that. We got a lot of weird ponds and dirty waterways here in Michigan. Like if you have an open wound, you get spinal meningitis. I heard. Uh, let's but I do metal detect, and I enjoy that very much. I just found what we would call a coin spill, maybe about 3 4 days ago. Me and a buddy were out at an old schoolhouse, and they were British coins dating from the 1930s all the way back to 1862, and there were about 5 or 6 coins. It was real
Nice.
odd coin spill, but really cool. Um, all right, so I missed. I mean, I'm not that up on Delphi actually. I mean, I've kind of fallen back, and I know that the other day you did a show on the redacted, unredacted, PCA for Richard Allen, and I'm just wondering. I know how much you kind of pour over things. Are there just like a couple things that really stood out that is something new or fresh that we haven't heard in the last 6 months?
Um, I think the word knife is something that's pretty new.
Okay,
I don't know. That might not mean a lot to everybody. They kind of assumed that it was a knife.
I did.
Um, there was some confusion. Sharp object. That's not too specific. That could be a hatchet or I don't know, machete. They were looking into Daniel Nations, and he was known to kind of wield a hatchet. So
Hmm.
I think it was important for them to use the word knife. If they believe it was a knife, then go ahead and say that.
That's a valid point because you almost always hear that tied to Daniel Nations every time the word sharp comes up. I mean, inevitably his name comes up um, based on that hat. Well, I mean, of course it would, based on a hatchet incident on a trail. It's going to come up.
Yeah, something in Colorado. I think he was accused of attacking some hikers
Hmm.
and was wielding a hatchet. So
Right. Yep. That was weird too because I feel like the car. I don't know. I don't really remember the details now, but the the car that he was driving out there, I feel like matched one of the initial descriptions of a red vehicle. I thought, or maybe that's. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
mm, yeah, it's not sparking anything for me.
well, um, do you think the answers are still in the original information? Obviously, the original information means the truth, but I mean, in what has been released initially, do you think the answers are still in there somewhere, or are we just everybody off base and we just don't know anymore? Or do you feel confident that Richard Allen is the sole guilty party?
I feel like he's definitely guilty. I feel like he's
Yeah.
the guy on the bridge. I'm a little confused about his charges and some of the wording that's
Hmm.
used when the investigators are trying to communicate with Judge Gall. Um, they seem like they want to stick true to the fact that he's responsible for the kidnapping that led to the murder.
Right.
So I don't know if that's all they can prove or if that's really what happened. And if that's all that happened, then obviously there's others involved. We know about DNA, yet nobody's saying, hey, we have Richard Allen's DNA. So
Right.
on those
Yeah.
points,
Yeah.
I'm still very confused.
I mean, and those aren't small points. I mean, they would clearly indicate a conspiracy
Yeah.
of
I
some
mean,
sort. I
I
mean,
mean, did he kidnap the girls and then it led to their death, or did he kidnap the girls and then kill them? They're not clear on that. It's almost as if they don't know.
um, it's almost as if they don't know. That's the worst thought. But the worst. I mean, to me, the worst thought of all is that ultimately there's some greater evil going on here that's, covering up a higher sort of conspiracy amongst powers that be. But that could just be me because I look at the world that way. So I don't want to put that on Delphi. I don't think that's fair to Delphi, from me, because I kind of always almost, especially with this UFO shit, think that it's a conspiracy
Well,
somehow.
let me ask you this, Derek. If you
Yeah,
and I, you and I were friends, if something bad happened, are you not going to do your best to help me?
yeah, of course I would. Yeah.
Depending on what it is. Some people might say, "Oh, well, this is a murder of two kids." Well, you don't know the person who's making that decision. It's easy for there to be a conspiracy, right? Friends helping friends is a normal thing,
Hmm.
especially if they've made a pact to do so. But I just don't see anything to suggest that that's what's going on. Honestly, I think we might be dealing with a lone wolf. I'm trying to tie in, the whole Klein and the Anthony Shots thing. There's just nothing solid there. I've actually spoken with a childhood friend today, actually, of Richard Allen, and he says, "You know what? I know both of those people, and I've never, I didn't know that they were ever friends." When it comes to Richard Allen and the Kleins, he says he knew the parents, went to school with Richard their entire life, even rode back and forth. That was his ride to and from school, and he says, "Nope." And also another thing that he said was that he doesn't remember Richard Allen and Kathy Allen being high school sweethearts.
Ooh, that's weird.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
take that for what it's worth.
Uh, I mean, you hear so many things. I mean, I don't know. Um, but I definitely absolutely believe that he's Bridge Guy. I just do. I can't help it.
Me too.
I mean, you
I'm
can't
convinced.
look at. I mean, look, everybody likes a good conspiracy, or maybe they don't. I
I
don't
love
love one.
conspiracies because that's how
Yeah,
a lot of crimes go unsolved.
right.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I just want the truth to come out quickly. And also, if something is obvious, but it doesn't fit, and we've gone over this, every show has gone over it. It doesn't fit the obvious narrative. People will just start making up shit, and I just can't go that way. I mean, if it's gonna, that's like, I like music. I probably a music snob or whatever, but if a band that you like is sort of obscure and then all of a sudden they break big, but it's a good song, why are you going to hold that against them, So you want
Yeah.
to look at it like, you just want the truth to come out. It's not about your theory or your narrative. It's about the truth being its own. And like Kristen, hi Kristen, from behind the True Crime Door, applying good standards to reporting, like AP standards and reporting. Even though I'm not a professional reporter, but if I'm going to come on and talk to people, then I feel compelled to follow the same rules that a reporter would follow, right?
I don't know. I mean,
I do. I mean, I think we all do. I mean, I think everyone does really good, not just throwing people's names out there and ruining people's lives. I don't want to be part of a community like that. And I feel with everyone, especially at Sleuth Intuition, it's just not like that. It's just a lot friendlier crowd. So,
well, I
but
mean,
it's
I
just
believe
weird.
in, first of all, you have to believe in positive energy. That has to be a foundation, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I see one of your best defenses as just mere deflection, and not in a bad way, but like if someone's throwing everything they got at you, you don't have to do much except for just move a little bit, and they just go right on by you. And you
Yeah,
got a
it's
lot
kind of
coming.
like keto. You know, when they throw their weight at you, use their own weight against them and let them go flying.
Very true. Um, Kinesiology or whatever that's called. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but when I had to go to therapy, physical
Kinetic.
therapy, uh, it was sort of the study of the flow of motion in all ways, and it was very interesting and helpful. But anyways, also very boring. So we're gonna move on. Oh, I sort of missed this Betsy. Well, I guess they must have said it on the air. I wouldn't know her name. A BB or Betsy Blair on the unredacted. Is there something there? Was there anything that's mentioned her name or?
Yeah, Betsy Blair is the one that was going for a walk at the Monon High Bridge Trail, and I believe she parked at the Mears parking. There was nobody there.
Hmm.
Soon Kelsey would show up, but when she parked there, she walked directly to the Freedom Bridge, and that's when she witnessed Richard Allen. And we don't know if it's Richard Allen or not. They haven't verified that she pulled him out of a lineup, but what they did verify was whoever she did see
Hmm.
is the same person that was on that video, that on Libby's video.
So, so when you say it like that, Sleuth, I mean, that's screwing my head up then because that's supposed to be Richard Allen, but what you're saying is they haven't said so.
Well, we know it's Richard Allen because he says so. He's the one
Oh,
that snitched
right,
on
right.
himself.
Sure.
They say, well, we saw this man and he walked by. We saw him on the trails at this time. And that's also the man that we saw on the bridge. And then
Hmm.
we have in turn Richard Allen saying, well, yeah, I was on the trails and I saw those girls who are saying they saw me, yet I didn't see the victims. So he's already said, yes, that's me. I saw those girls. They saw me. I saw the girl. She saw me, but I didn't see any victims. So it doesn't really matter because they're saying the person that they saw walking with the purpose is the same guy they saw on the bridge.
Hmm.
And we now know that the guy on the bridge kidnapped Abby and Libby and it led to their death. And I think that's why they charged him the way they did. I'm just not sure. Um, Nicholas McClellan says he thinks others are involved. I don't know. Does that have to do with the DNA? Does that have to do with him kidnapping them and not physically killing them? I don't know.
I just hope it comes out. I mean, Anthony France, thanks for tuning in. I
What's up,
appreciate it.
Anthony?
Uh, and that's a good question. Is TK in the clear? Anthony's asking, and that was sort of some notes I made here. I said, some forgotten narratives. Drawing by the cow killer dude, the bomb threat dude. It's like there's all these different things through the
Mm-hmm.
years that sounded like these incredibly solid kind of, and then all of a sudden you're TK and KK. Where yeah, I mean obviously KK is in trouble for a whole range of shit, but none of those things so far have been Monon High Bridge murder related. And if I'm not mistaken, other than the Anthony Shots profile.
Mm-hmm.
So is he going to go by the wayside like a Daniel Nations or a Phillips or whatever?
I don't
Maybe.
know. I don't know. The one thing that I do know is that there's nothing tying him directly to it. It's all circumstantial. It's all storytelling when we talk about Vegas and the snuff and all of this. Yeah, it
Mm,
sounds great, but there's really nothing solid there. Could
right.
there be something in the future that pops up? Yes. We talk about it and we work with it and we consider it because those are the pieces of information that law enforcement has given us, right? We're not just running around making up our own theories about some Anthony Shots account. This was provided to the public for a reason so that we could help. Um, and all the pieces of information that we have about Anthony Shots, Keegan Klein, and even his father suggest that Indiana State Police are extremely interested in that part of it all. So therefore, I am as well.
Right.
That's where I stand.
I think that's probably where kind of all of us stand on that too, and I think it's a good place to stand. It's not as if we're standing up for stand up people. So
Yeah, it's not
these are
some
assholes of the world.
conspiracy. Yeah,
These are
it's not some,
assholes of the
yeah.
world, anyways. Whether or not they're in Delphi, I want to see them burn anyway. So whatever.
And for me, that's not. I don't operate that way. It's like I got into it with another true crime podcaster because he was kind of following that same philosophy when it comes to the Wells case. And he was like, well, I don't need to apologize for how I'm treating her father
Oh,
because he's a bad guy anyway. But it's like if his child wasn't missing, if Summer Wells wasn't missing, we
yeah,
wouldn't even be talking about the father. You know what I mean? So just because
sure.
he's a bad guy doesn't mean that
You're right.
um, even though we don't have any information proving that he had something to do with her abduction, that we get to attack him and talk about it that way. So that's one thing I've learned.
You're
And
correct.
I'm not hitting you about it. That's something I
No,
had
no,
to
but
learn on my own.
you got to lead by example, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and you tend to do that. I respect that about you. And I've been known to be just a little overly emotional and irrational from time to time. So,
And that's just something I've learned through going through it.
but I don't ever mind a correction from you, Sleuth. That's for sure. I look at it as good life advice. Uh, so yeah, that was on my list, Anthony. KK and TK, are they the next to go by the wayside concerning Delphi? So that, I guess we're on the same vibe there, dude. We'll
And
just
another thing about KK is it's hard to just overlook him because of the way he makes these weird comments. It's like if he had nothing to do with anything, um, going into prison, it seems like the last thing you want to do is draw attention to yourself involving a double child murder. So for him to do that is very strange. So that's something I can't overlook easily.
right. Something else I can't overlook if true is some of the, and I don't want to go over them or even talk about them out loud, but some of the search stuff that the clients or whoever were using that account were responsible for. Um, very disturbing. But anyways, I was kind of looking back at some of your old shows actually. I mean, you do it a S ton of them, so I didn't get an opportunity to look at a lot, but I just gleaned a couple things. Like, did anything ever come? One day, Frank Meister, Frank, if you're listening or you're out there, shout out to Frank Meister. Uh, says something rumor mill, maybe Libby texted something when they were at the bridge that day on 213 of 2017. Have you heard any follow up on that since that show that was maybe over a year ago that you did? Actually, I know it's kind of a random question, but I just happened to catch it.
I've heard a little bit of information about. We did talk early on. We talked about why the girls wanted to go to the bridge. Obviously somebody wanted to meet them there, but the truth was they had friends that were there. That's
Hmm.
why they wanted to go, and they weren't able to get there on time because they didn't have a direct ride. So they showed up late, and they just were gonna possibly just gonna make the best of it.
Hmm.
But a lot of people are like, "Well, why were they wanting to go to that bridge?" Well, the truth is they had friends there. They were gonna meet them there, and they were gonna hang out and have a good time. They just showed up late,
Huh.
possibly, and, Richard Allen could have just been there stalking. You know what I mean?
Man, if it turns out like that, it's still a crazy case. I don't care how it turns out, as long as
Well, the
it's
coincidences of Richard Allen showing up at 1:27 and the girls leaving at 1:30 right there are already astronomical. And the
that's
fact that he beelined it directly to the bridge and they showed up right at the bridge, I mean, it's hard to overlook all of that stuff. It really is, but the truth is it could just be a coincidence.
sure. That takes me back to the witness that a few moments ago we were talking about that saw him going to. She was walking towards Freedom Bridge, I think you said. Bet BB, I'll call her. She wasn't the same witness, obviously, then that saw him sitting on the first whatever sort
Yeah,
of.
she's the one that saw him on the platform.
But if he, I thought, sorry, I thought he was walking from the Freedom Bridge, and they passed each other. I mean, how did that
No,
work?
she walked up to the bridge, witnessed him on the bridge, and then went about her business.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
on her way leaving is when the girls passed her.
Oh, right. I mean, he ties it all together. It's clearly this guy, which brings me back to the clerical error. Uh, I mean, I can't believe that. I can't believe that that's what it is. And I mean, until it comes out, I mean, I think most people here know my theory, but I'll do a shameless self promotion and say that I still think until I can see it on paper that he was both sketches in terms of um, he was old bridge guy sketch physically, and that he was responsible for young bridge guy sketch. And if you put those two things together and let them fall away, like Doug Carter said to do, the person responsible for the death of Libby and Abby will be revealed.
Yep, and Becky Patty said it the best. She said it, and I didn't even know she stated this way, but this is the way it it kind of played out in my mind was um it really depends on the witness, right? And Becky Patty said it clearly in an interview. She said, "Well, if I was a witness and I saw somebody that was younger than me, I'm going to go ahead and explain them as much younger. You know, they're a young person.
Hmm.
But if I'm a very old, if she's considering herself an older person, but
Sure.
if I'm a younger person and I see the same individual, I'm going to explain him much older looking. The facial hair and certain things are going to
Right.
stand out. So to me, and I even said that before I realized that she ever said that, I talked about the McCain that was on the trail. So he could have very well have been the witness of the young person. Think about it. He's an older
Sure.
man. So if he was to run across a Richard Allen would look much younger to him because he's much older. But to the younger witnesses, he's going to appear much older. So therefore, you're going to have different sketches. But the truth is, if was it Dan or Dave? I was
I, I don't
Dan,
know.
I think it was. Um,
The chubby one. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
the shorter one.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he saw Richard Allen on the bridge, or excuse me, on the trail, which he very well may have, he's going to describe him as a younger person because
Hmm.
that's how he's going to appear to a much older
Yeah. Right.
man.
Because he's in his 60s, correct?
David McCain. Yeah, David McCain.
Hmm.
Thanks, Deb.
And that's probably partly why they say witness testimony isn't the most reliable uh, source for information, anyways, when it comes to something like this. But I think when you group them together, when you look at three or four of the same age people walking down, I'd be referring to the miners at that time, who I think are mostly responsible for Old Bridge Guy sketch, which was actually drawn after Young Bridge Guy sketch, as we know, according to the sketch artist himself. And then we have the Indiana State Police releasing a statement to the Associated Press saying that person was no longer a person of interest, based on the fact that they had investigated him. So how is that a clerical error?
See, I don't like all of that. And I hope they answer for that because that's giving anybody that might have been looking at that older looking sketch and said, man, I know that Richard Allen was there that day and that kind of looks like him. And I've seen him in that blue coat before. I may go ahead and tip him in and give some information. And then all of a sudden they're saying, well, this person is no longer a person of interest. Um, so it's hard to say. I think really what they were doing was saying, okay, we were way off. And I don't think that the people that know Richard Allen or this suspect are looking at him as an older person.
Right.
I think he might be more middle aged and even though he might be 50, I think we might be dealing with somebody that looks younger than their age. And
I mean,
that's
kind
what
of
they
like me.
said.
I'm 50, and I mean, I'm not like Richard Allen, but I look significantly younger than 50.
Exactly.
And you could be dealing also with somebody. Uh, I know this because I've worked in restaurants my whole life. You keep getting older, and the employee base at these places, the WalMarts, the photo counter, the whatever, the restaurant tends to stay around the same age, and
Yep.
so you're not really mixing it up oftentimes with people that are sort of maturing with you through life. And for me, it's been sometimes an issue just socially, but I mean, maybe for some people it's a bit more of an issue. I don't know, speculation, I suppose. I mean, do you want to keep your thoughts on Hoosier the Bruiser? Is that something that's like personal to you, or I just know you said he's a big influence, and
Yeah. Anytime we can talk about Hoosier the Bruiser, I'm all for it.
okay,
The
I'd love
guy's
to.
been a he,
Yeah, that's great, actually.
yeah, he was a big influence on me, got me in basically into YouTube. He also gave me a big heads up on the drama that I could expect along with it. He gave me a list of names to watch out for, and that was very I guess pivotal in getting through some early stages. If it wasn't for him kind of giving me the heads up, I don't know if I'd be talking to you right now.
You might have just thrown in the towel and said, this is too much BS for the for the
Yeah,
for the
man.
hassle, or
It's because I try to be a righteous person. I make mistakes and I stumble, but
Mhm.
God is always on my mind and I try to be righteous and try to do things the right way. And I stick to my morals. I don't care. I'm not a perfect person.
Right.
So what? I don't. I could care less what anybody has to say about that.
Yeah, I don't understand that side of this whole I call it broadcast. You can call it whatever you want, but this jealous, weird, whatever these people do, it's just it's so foreign to me.
Oh,
Um,
you'll learn soon enough.
I guess so. I mean, I'm happy to just give my name, the last four of my social, my birth date, my blood type, and if anyone wants a semen
Uh,
sample, they can have
don't
that
help.
too, I suppose.
One
But
thing I learned is don't help these idiots. One thing you'll learn is that people that act like they're your friends will be the ones that will try to give out that information. So just hold it close to you. That way you can expose. And that's one thing that Bruiser taught me. He said, "Hey man, are you gonna show your face and give your name?" I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna do like you do. I'm gonna keep my face covered, and I'll probably just give my name." He's like, "Don't do that." He's like, "Keep everything hidden, and before you know it, all the people that you thought were your friends will be the very people that you see giving out your name, giving out your photo." So I always intended to use my face and my name. My face at one point was covered. Now you see it.
hmm
My name, all my subscribers and people who are members know my full name, but I don't give it out freely. So that way, when people try to hurt me and they're out there in public giving out my full name, that way
hmm
I can identify the snakes. And if
okay,
it wasn't for Hoosier the Bruiser, I wouldn't have had that strategy. So shout out to him.
nice, Sleuth. I mean, Uh, one thing I like about your video presentations, you always bring it around full circle when you start talking about something like you just did with Hoosier there. And what you're saying is, I mean, this guy, I don't know how long he was sort of doing that or what his background was.
From the very beginning. A lot of people don't know this, but the reward money is most likely 100 grand less because of his passing. He didn't tell a lot of people about this,
hmm
and he didn't even say it to me, but just through me knowing in certain circles, he in knowing that he did get a lot of money that was given to him from some deaths in his family.
hmm
He had plenty of money, and it was him that donated anonymously 100 grand towards the
Wow.
Delphi reward. For those that don't know,
Well, that's putting
that's
a
putting your money where your mouth is what that's called.
wow. That's doing more than checking a box on your taxes to give $10 to the political party of your choice.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
wow, man. I I I'm kind of sorry that I mean I'm sure everyone that liked him is that it sounds like it kind of was a little bit early that he passed away and that stuff like that. But fortunately, I hopefully someone's still managing his videos because I would really like to go back and watch more of them. I've watched a couple now and I don't know if he had his own show even. I just have caught him on other people's shows and
Oh yeah, he had a great channel. I think his wife might be running it
I
now.
should subscribe to that.
I know that
I
his merch shop isn't up anymore, but his channel is still up and running. And if you're interested in the Delphi case, he's been covering that case from the very, very beginning, and he's from Indiana. So
wow, enough said. Also, everybody, I have a lot of friends in this community, Sleuth included, and many others. Not many, actually, maybe five or six, seven shows that I really like, that I've always liked right from the beginning, pretty much. But I'll learn how to put all of you up and list everyone out. I'm not gonna, um, I want to make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing. That's the righteous thing to be doing amongst my friends in the community. Deb, of course. Hi, Deb. True Crime Notebook. I was gonna tell a Sunny Justice story, Deb. I don't know. It's a pretty punchy one. I don't know. I don't know. She's not here. Maybe I'll wait and see if she comes on. It was the blueberry pancake story, Deb. You remember? Anyways, so
sorry, excuse me.
Sleuth, I mean, how you doing, Sleuth? Are you doing all right? I mean, just are you? You sound like you probably had a long day, man. Anytime you want to cut this, you've already been so damn gracious. I really appreciate you coming on, like at all. Or if there's anything you'd like to put up to the forefront to
No, I mean I got another 15 minutes for you, man.
okay, all right.
Yeah, we're
I just
good.
don't want to push it, man. I don't
Yeah,
want to push a good thing.
don't feel stressed out. I know you put a lot of pressure on yourself, but you have it. You got what it takes.
Amazingly, I told Don Spain in the chat. I said, for a change, I'm not. I'm relatively calm. I'm not freaking out. The equipment was working, and I find that if that's going down, then the ability to talk eventually will sort of straighten itself out, and the nerves will sort of straighten out, and it'll kind of straighten out. But as far as this case goes, I mean, when are we looking at a trial again, if there is one? I mean, not till the spring
Uh,
of 2024. I
Jan
mean,
January, I believe.
okay, I don't know. It's like JFK to me. It's like I just need
Yeah,
to come
that's a
up.
good way to put it, man. Like JFK.
Yeah, I mean, only there's no. I mean, who's playing the role of the Warren Commission? You know, sort of aiding and abetting the bullshit. You know, is it the state police? Is the county police? You know, is it the police at all? Maybe they're doing just the very best they can. I'm not going to judge them. That's for sure. But I'm going to
Yeah,
bring it up and I'm going to ask the question.
I have no clue. I mean, I don't trust, like, I respect law enforcement, but I don't trust them. But I don't trust anybody.
Right.
You know what I
There's
mean?
no reason to. Humans don't give each other many reasons to just right out of the box trust each other. I mean, if you are watching this UFO whatever,
Cindy.
anybody, I'm not on the Discord right now because I keep missing, and I think maybe my membership, blah blah blah. But uh, I'm really thinking that I was deep diving this pretty good, this UFO thing, before this David Grush sleuth. You know what I'm talking about? This
Mhm.
whistleblower guy.
Yeah, the South Pole guy.
No, that's not the South. That was a guy that worked for Raytheon. He was a contractor, a plumber for Raytheon, but that wasn't David Grush. David Grush was read in on all the black projects, but not
Oh,
the
okay.
unannounced black projects. And uh, you know the you ever watch those shows where those guys and the ladies, they get together and they watch how you talk and how you move, and if you swallow too many times, your eyes shoot off to the fucking left or whatever, and they're like, he's lying, blah blah blah. You ever watch the body language experts?
Yeah, I tried to study that a little bit.
I
I
mean,
try to
yeah, I
follow
think
that.
there's something.
I watch people when they talk to me.
I think there's something to it. I mean, I don't know, but it's like when people say, if my dog doesn't like you, then you're a bad person. And I go, well, maybe your dog just doesn't like me. Like I've
No,
run across people that just don't like.
there was one time my sister was dating this guy, right? And he just got out of prison for 12 years. She always liked bad boys. And we had a dog, and we were all meeting up at my dad's house. And this dog has never barked at anybody. The second this motherfucker walked into the house, the dog went crazy. And
Yeah.
sure enough, 2 months after that, he committed another serious crime, and now he's doing life.
Wow. Wow. I had a friend like that. My friend Steve. I won't say his last name, but nicest guy in the world. Never seen him get mad at anybody. But one time, he just didn't like this fucking guy,
Yeah,
and
for
he
a
turned out to
reason.
be a bad dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I live with that shit. I live with that every day.
I'm just not that intuitive.
I can just fucking tell. Yeah, I can just feel it in the air. I don't know what it is, man. It sucks.
Yeah, it's like that Sixth Sense movie or six whatever
Yeah,
that.
it really is.
Uh,
And all of the people that have ever, even on YouTube, and the people that I've tried to make friends with, like, see, with you, Derek, I never got a bad vibe, not one time. But
well,
let's say you know how you and I are really good friends, and we've gone over the time, we've got to learn a little bit about each other.
yeah, sure.
There's certain other people that try to perpetrate that same behavior and try to get close to me. But
Hmm.
truthfully, they don't want to be friends with me. They don't care about me. They're just trying to get close so that they can hurt me. And that's a true snake. And believe it or not, that happens so often, and I cannot figure it out why people will spend their time to do that type of shit. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
I
they
mean,
will spend an entire year getting close to you only to burn you.
weird. I mean, that's weird, but I call it
So
petty,
weird.
petty fucking jealousy. I mean, it makes people do
Man.
crazy shit, man.
Yeah, but the way that you and I are motivated to try to be successful or do the things that make us feel great, they're motivated to do the weird shit that they're doing the same exact way.
Well, it's a zero sum game for them. It's got to be a win lose. They got to win, and somebody else has got to lose. That's the only way they feel powerful again. Like I was saying to a friend earlier, I said, people that feel powerless in life, it, I don't say it cracks me up. I say that facetiously, but they sometimes end up abusing the power with the three people that fucking are left on this earth that still love them
Yeah.
because they can and they want to feel that same power. And and it just it frustrates me to no end, honestly. But
Well, and a lot of times there might be some people that are close to you, but deep down they have some kind of weird jealousy against you. And then as soon
right.
as you stumble or you make a mistake, they're there to exploit it and to step all over you. So that's why it's real hard for me to make friends with anybody because truthfully, deep down, they just really want to hurt you. It's really tough.
I wish I could I wish I could say that that wasn't true, but then again, I've also met, though, for me personally, this is the first community, your community. I say this, I mean, it's your show. It's not Sleuth Intuition is Sleuth's show, and I feel more of a part of that community than I do the Derek Farmer show. you know, so for me, it was the first time I met anyone online that I ever even carried on any sort of conversation with, and I can tell you, there's been more than one time that well more than one person. Hi, Kristen. I'm so glad you're here. Well,
Hey,
more
Kristen.
very has been personally concerned about me. Now, I don't require that, and I'm sorry that I've even had to sort of expend that sort of energy for anyone. But the fact that it did happen gives me some hope that there are still real people out there that have really good feelings for strangers that they don't know. So, Sleuth, maybe if you're not the creator, maybe it's, you see what I'm saying? Because I wasn't coming at it from that angle where you're going to have a whole different level of jealousy from people that want to create, basically. If you want to meet a jealous, bitchy little group, go hang out in an art studio sometime or an
I
art.
have. I'm an artist.
I know, but
I'm a
they're not
painter.
always the most enlightened people as much as we would like to think so. They end
Oh,
up cutting their own fucking ear off sometimes.
yeah. And a lot of us, we like to think we're better than we are, but the truth is, you're only as good as your communication skills. um, so honestly, when I met you, Derek, I saw somebody that I had a lot in common with, but absolutely nothing in common with as far as politics. So to me, this was an opportunity. This was an opportunity to show that humanity is the most important thing. So
I agree with
honestly,
that.
when I met you, it was like a project because
Wow,
we had nothing in common,
we
but
didn't. Yeah,
everything
I
in
hate
but
golf.
everything in
I hate
common.
golf.
You know what I
Sorry.
mean?
What'd you say?
I said nothing in common, but everything in common.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I find that to be exactly spot on, actually, because especially at a time, I think. I mean, are you saying, Sleuth, that we're kind of like it's like the Palestinians and and Israel, that we're kind of getting it together like that? I mean, is there some hope
Yeah,
for the world?
yeah, I think exactly. That's a good way to put it. That's exactly what's going on. Israel and Palestine. That's what we're
Right.
doing right now. And we're putting everything to the side.
Well, you look at different political presidencies or whatever, and it
And
divides.
we're talking radical. We're talking politically radical to each other.
Right. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's
I
not
mean,
just
there
oh,
was a
it's not
time I
just like
think
oh,
of.
it's not just like oh, Derek's a little bit left leaning and Sleuth is a little bit right. No, we're talking complete radically opposite political people. And
Oh,
here
me
we
and
are.
you.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. I'm totally Second Amendment. That's not right. That's on the same side, right?
Yeah. I mean, we
I
a
mean,
cou-
I don't like the well, you can have a lot of bullets in them and stuff like that, and they should have little green, or pink caps on the end so you can see
yeah.
them.
Yeah, don't get me started.
I'm fucking around with you, man. I don't have anything else, man. I'm not even that well versed on Delphi lately. I'll be honest. I put you on in the background. So I'll be doing like my own stuff. I, I mean, just to listen to everybody and I will mod, like when I'm modding, I'm trying to just watch out for any overly negative. But Sleuth, you're so sort of you don't like a heavy mod hand, if you don't mind me saying it that way. You kind of like to see how things play out as long as no one's being incredibly disrespectful. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that about you, and I kind of like the fact that you might even argue a little bit or even get a little bit ugly with somebody, and you allow the chat to do the same. I mean, I feel like
Hmm.
we always work it out amongst us, almost always. And if it gets out of hand, you're there to always back us up. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's fine.
Well, I mean, you should be able to speak your mind. It's all about how you word things. It's not about what you do, it's how you do it. For example, the people who want to accuse Ron Logan. I don't play that game of accusing Ron Logan because there's no proof. Just like accusing the family, there's just no proof.
Right.
But if you want to go ahead and explain to me why you believe that, I'll allow it. But you have to be ready for the ridicule, the rebuttal. So if you're going
Sure.
to accuse somebody like a Kelsey German, you better be ready for what I'm going to dish out to you, because there's just no factual information there. Because if there was, I'm the kind of guy that
What?
I'll stand next to you. If you can show me any kind of proof, like a Ron Logan was involved or family members had something to do with it, you have to be able to prove it. And the second that you can prove it, I will stand right there with
I
you.
would just merely say, I don't have to prove it, but the FBI certainly thought that Ron Logan
I
was
mean,
involved.
we're just here having conversations. I mean, we're not here to be part of
No, no, I'm just saying
the
that's
official narrative. I'm just saying,
no, no, no,
if you
no.
want to come onto my platform or your
Yeah, sure.
platform and make your point,
Right. No, I
if you
get that.
want me to support you, you better have something solid.
Absolutely. And don't just bring the same damn thing over and over when you can't, when you can't, no, I'm just saying I'm a natural, like that would be the first thing that came to my mind if I was to defend my position on not accusing Ron Logan, but at least lumping him into a circle of people that could have been involved.
And why
I
is it
would,
so hard to say, "This is why I believe Ron
right,
Logan
sure,
did it," or "This is why
totally.
I think," and then you go ahead and lay out all your proof, and that way I can give you a rebuttal and answer to everything that you're saying. But you can't just simply say, it was Ron Logan," or you know.
Absolutely not.
So there's a way to do things. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Time and place, I think, is the people that claim to raise me. That's what they call it. That you got to know the time and place.
Well, it's this kind of egotistical personality where they say, "Well, I know it was this and I know
Hmm.
it was that because of this." I don't understand that. If you don't have solid proof, how are you taking a stance? It's kind of like a gamble, really. You're a gambler.
I unfortunately actually am a gambler.
I
It's
love to gamble too. I don't love to gamble with money, but I like to gamble with instincts.
oh, wow. Maybe I ought to try that instead of the money
Yeah.
because it's
I
not
do it
working out
I
real
do
good.
it often. There'll be a certain situation that arrives, and in my mind, I'll gamble on it, whether it's
Really?
right or wrong. Yeah, I do it
Huh.
constantly.
See, that's what I find interesting about hey, Captain Trips. CERN. I forgot what that was. Is that big circle thing where they're
Mhm.
smashing the boom and the
Smashing,
atoms?
particles.
Right.
Particle collider, Large Hadron Collider.
I mean, I think that that's probably like the fundamentals of our universe as we know it, whatever that means. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything
The
about that
Big
stuff.
Bang?
Hmm?
They're trying to recreate the Big Bang.
Right, in a little package. Who
Doesn't
knows?
sound smart.
Maybe maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, especially when you're on a little rock in space. You don't wanna go ahead messing around with the Big Bang.
Do you think there's going to be aliens landing on this planet in the next anytime shortly, like say under 5 years?
Yeah, I think we're aliens right now talking on these microphones on the planet.
I mean, to announce themselves in a more official capacity.
I mean, I think we are aliens. I mean, we're proof of aliens.
I agree with that, but everybody, everybody wants that moment because it seems to be a big,
I think we're
nobody.
looking past the moment. I think we're looking you and I right now are looking at the moment. We're looking
Yeah, I
at the
think it's
aliens right now.
incredible. I think it's the most,
See
if
your
it's
hands?
true,
See
it's.
that? A little alien hands right there. We're literally on a rock floating through space. I mean, I don't know what
uh,
gets more alien than that.
you're right, man. That's a good way to look at it. Um, yeah, it's just I find it fascinating the whole thing.
You
I
mean
find the
grays and shit like that? Reptilians? Oh yeah, definitely.
oh yeah, get this one I heard. The guy that founded McDonald's, his name was Ray Kroc, right? Well, if you go one step further, he was rumored to be a reptilian, Ray Crocodile. Hmm? You see?
Or a crock of shit.
All right. Well,
Either way, I'm open to it. Whatever. Show me the
I,
proof.
I had my own sighting a couple weeks ago, late at night here in Kalamazoo. I know what I saw. I know what I saw. and it wasn't. It could have been a reproduction vehicle, I suppose, but if it wasn't, then it was alien. So,
I've seen some
um,
shit before too, man.
hmm?
I seen some shit. It wasn't like a typical UFO. It was like this crazy rectangular shape, and it was flipping through the sky.
Okay, and
It
a
was
good
nuts,
point to be
man.
made about UFOs is something Hynek said after he quit Project Blue Book and actually came out as a supporter in the UFO stuff. He said that the more radical, the more basically crazy the sighting and the experience, the more likely it is to be true. Now, that's quite a statement.
Well, I had a friend in when we were young. He was a best friend of mine. We're not really close anymore, but he had a sighting in my backyard of my childhood home, and he talks about that shit up until like we were into our 40s.
Hmm.
And it was around that time I had some weird experiences going on. And he was like, "Man," he brings it up every time we get to, "You remember that one time?" I was like, "Nah, man, I missed it." He's like, "Man, there's a UFO above your house. Wow, you guys
So
all saw it."
you
And
didn't
we're
see
like,
it though. You literally missed
"Nah,
it.
no," but there was a lot of weird shit going on around that time. And
Uh,
man, he talks about it all the time. Even
well, he knows his stuff.
friends of mutual friends that I wasn't friends with at the time that I met later on who were friends of his, would mention the fact that he would bring up that UFO story.
Wow,
Yeah.
that
Crazy,
gives it a
right?
little more validity. It does.
Yeah, seriously.
Um, I mean, I told you before, I think, and people in Discord at least, that I was raised with that stuff, but based on the what I'm calling now the 1966 Hillsdale, Michigan sightings. We're a little bit, we maybe about 50, 60 miles away from there, but it was around the very same time and the same
Man
sort of.
and woman?
What's that?
Is that, when the man and that woman were
Oh,
chased by a UFO?
no, that was Betty and Barney Hill. Actually,
Betty and Barney, there you go, thank you.
1961 upstate New York. But this
It was the
sighting was
60s.
Hillsdale, and it was a time that J. Allen Hynek, who was the director of Project Blue Book, who was formerly the head astronomer of Northwest University in Chicago, a prestigious university, came to Michigan and blamed it on swamp gas.
Yep.
And that pissed off one congressman named Gerald R. Ford. And the last time we had congressional hearings on UFOs was based upon that sighting. And that's right when my mom had her experience right here in Kalamazoo. And I've been listening to that since I'm 3 years old, uh, and in my own way, probably have tested her over the years, trying to get sort of change a detail here or there, something where I could poke a hole in it. But it's solid, man, every time. So,
Well, same thing happened with my grandmother when I was a younger kid. Um, I would try to talk to her 'cause she's really smart. Somebody that I really looked up to, a very like a spiritual guide for me. She's the one that led me to God, really. And I'll be forever grateful about that. But I would talk to her about this story, and um, she would explain one time she was driving down the street and this huge ball, it was a perfect sphere, just was coming straight down the road, straight at her, and just floated right over her vehicle. I remember as
wow.
a young person talking to her about her, and anytime I'd bring up the UFO, she would bring up that story. Well, 15 years later, before she got dementia, of course, I was talking to her about that. She said that she had another experience and she saw something very similar, and she was with somebody who could identify it. And so now she basically states till or claims that it was a ball of lightning.
Oh, ball light. That's something that's another one of those bullshit things the government shoved down our throats back then called ball lightning. And it's an anomalous thing that supposedly happens. And it's supposed to be all scientific and stuff, but it's like everything else, man. They're throwing shit at the wall until it
Well,
sounds good.
apparently she saw a clear ball of lightning,
Oh,
with somebody who was
oh,
versed in it, somebody who
okay.
was a uh, scientist, basically. There with a group of people. My cousin, who was
So wait, the anomaly
he's a
repeated
surgeon.
itself? It repeated
It
itself?
didn't like later on when she first saw it, she was a young person,
Okay.
and later on in life, she was able to see it again. And when she did see it again, the person that she was with explained to her that it was a ball of lightning.
Okay.
So then later on in life, I spoke to her again about it, and she was like, "Oh, well, you remember that UFO, this and that?"
Hmm.
She's like, "Well, what I found out was it was a ball of lightning." So she was convinced that it was a ball of lightning. Of course, me, I'm not. It was a UFO. You know
Right.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
she's the one that saw it. She's the one that saw it the second time, and with somebody who can verify exactly what they were witnessing, a
Wow.
ball of lightning. So there you have it.
Actually, my grandma, who was a Jehovah's Witness, um, uh, and I used to hang out with her all the time. Had a lot of friends, and we would go visiting her friends, and she had a friend that said a ball of lightning. And I've heard it described this way. I thought maybe it was just one of the like swamp gas or a weather balloon where they sort of assign
Mhm,
something to a UFO that's
mhm.
not what it is, you know. But this thing came through the window or the wall without, you know, like it came through hole, and then it went around the whole kitchen and lit the whole kitchen on fire, and then left, I guess. And her whole kitchen burned down. I mean, so sometimes UFOs can be pissed off, I guess. I don't know.
Well, there was an account,
But
I
that's
can't
super.
remember who it was. They were talking about their experience with the UFO, and some green light had come into their home. It was like moving around. But then again, you just don't know if like what they're saying is real, you know? You can't It's hard to trust people these days.
It is. It is. I mean, everybody wants to feel like they're seeing something special, but hey, look, man, I saw three green lights in a triangle pattern with a singular red light in the middle that was alternating. It was twice as high as a WKZO radio tower, which I use for reference. It was below the cloud layer. And I reached for my camera, and as I lifted it up, it was on selfie mode. I don't take fucking selfies. You looked at me. Why would I take a selfie? I didn't put it there. They did. And so I'm lifting it up. My fingers won't hit that button that switches it back to not. My brain isn't trained to know where that button's at, so I had to look down at the phone. And by the time I went back up, nothing in the sky at all, gone. That's how I know they did it. But I don't want to sound crazy already on the first show, so we'll let that go a couple shows.
That'll be for the third or fourth.
Yeah. Hey, Sleuth, man, anything you want to? I think we're gonna actually call it a wrap here, unless somebody. I'm so sorry, you guys in chat. I will try to.
No, this was great, man. I think we had a
Well, I
great
didn't
combo.
answer any good questions or anything, though. I was terrible, but
I didn't really see any good questions.
oh dang,
Just kidding.
that's not nice. Oh no, they're awesome, and you know it. But I only because of the nature of this is my first show, and I'll just use that as the excuse that, and also I need bifocals, and it's just it was hard to sort of keep up on, but it not because I'm not interested. I'm now going to go back and probably overly pour over every comment, and
Yeah, even though it was really great.
yeah. But I want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight to whatever we're going to call this show. I don't really think I have a name for the show. I have a name for the channel, but I named that like 15 years ago without ever intending on broadcasting. So I don't know. Maybe we change it. Maybe we'll do a vote or something someday. Make it something a little bit more inviting than foreign fishes and whatever the fuck that means. And I think we're gonna wrap it up, everybody. Anything end of stuff here, Sleuth? You got anything, or you wanna chill and say have a good night?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. I think you're gonna do great. I think you're gonna do great.
I appreciate that, and I can't think of a better first guest. I mean, there's tons of other people out there I want to have on, but you were the first person I asked. You said yes, so it all worked out great for me, and
Anytime.
hopefully we'll get some improvements on the show, and as we go along, I'll add little things like theme music and little canned bits, but I can't do it all at once. You know, I got to work and shit too. So
Yeah, let it happen naturally. It'll
yeah,
happen.
and I just know from my own experience that if I don't actually just do something, that nothing will ever get done. I'll always be trying to perfect something that never even comes out. So I'm better
Perfectionist.
off just diving right off like
You
I
got
did.
to.
This
You
has
got
been
to.
wonderful. You guys made it possible. Thank you so much. And I don't know when the next show is going to be, but I'll certainly update when I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Derek. Take care.
Thanks. You too, Sleuth. Thank you.
Later.